Hi, everyone. I would like to welcome you back on my podcast. Welcome to Soulishfemme. My name is Glenaville. To those of you who are here for the first time, welcome back. So, today I will do a little bit of a different kind of podcast. This is about the two movies that I've watched recently. These are two old movies that I have rewatched again. The first one called Morning Glory, played by Rachel McAdams, Diane Keaton, and Henry Ford. So we can learn from this movie. I don't want to give too much away, but something to do with the woman, Rachel McAdams. She was playing as a producer and trying to lead these people as a journalist. And so she was a single woman. And we all know that as a single person, this is for the people that are single, the good, the bad, and the ugly. We actually think that we have to really figure it out the whole time of what we want to do in life, because apparently in the movie rather, the mother was not very supportive of her choice of her career. We all know this, right? Because her mother thought that she is just dreaming for being a producer on, trying to tell people of what to do and what kind of show they would like to portray. And so, but she didn't quit. She didn't stop. She actually pursued her dream. And this is why I always like to say, you cannot be everybody's cup of tea. You cannot listen to the naysayers in your life. If people somehow criticize your dream, and especially from your parents, of course, you would have thought that the people in your life, especially from your parents, are the ones that you supposedly are going to support you. But not in her case, and not everybody's case. We all know that people are going to project their insecurity onto you, or maybe they're just threatened of what you can possibly become. This is why many people are either going to sabotage your dream and try to question your dreams and maybe doubt your visions in life, because as I said, they are fearful. And most of that is actually their own insecurity and their own lack of drive or motivation, or maybe lack of confidence, that they rather want to pull you down. I told you in my life, when I started writing a book, and I started YouTubing and podcasting, there were people also in my life who actually made fun of it, and who kind of villainized the fact that I was trying something differently. Because we all know I came from a family of the healthcare system, and what do you know? Everybody expects you to have the same career as them and to make the kind of choices, because it is the status quo. It is what you're expected to do. And because I was not the person who was willing to follow everybody's pathway and path wherever it is that they want to do in life, I decided to choose my own path. And we all can learn also in Morning Glory that her relationship with this man, as a Henry Ford, an elderly man, he was a senior, and he was like a Tom Brokaw in that kind of a film movie. And she actually was looking up to him as a mentor, and she kept on saying that I used to watch you when I was a little girl with my dad, and we were so amazed of how good you are. Apparently, as it turns out, he was not the kind of a guy that was a very pleasant man. He was a prick, narcissistic, maybe, because he was good at his job, and he took his job seriously. Nonetheless, it really went down to their having a good relationship and trying to really just complement each other. I think because she also had daddy issues and father issues, that she was trying to look into this man, Henry Ford. And Henry Ford also had a very bad relationship with her children, because, as I said, he was too busy with his career. He was focused on his ambition. That was something that they had in common. Both of them were self-centered when it comes to their career. They thought that their career and their ambition was all there is to it, and there was a rift, and there was some kind of friction between Henry Ford and his children because of his lack of maybe time. We all know too that if you don't have play and you only have to work, and you actually are going to be driven with so much work, at the end of the day, you're going to neglect a lot of people. And I know it's very hard to balance things and to really just give the attention when you really are career driven, and then you actually neglect your family. At the end of the day, I think it really comes down to your priorities in life. As I like to say, yes, ambition is good, making money and having a career, because according to Lady Gaga, at least you have a career, and one day it's not going to wake up and say, I am done with you and I no longer love you, and you have the money on top of that. But at the same time, having a career and you don't have a good relationship with your children, especially, I think we also have missed the point that you need to also have that kind of relationship with your children, especially. Career can come and go, and at the end of the day, your kids are going to be there with you or not with you on your deathbed. And I'm pretty sure when your kids are going to do a kind of reflection of how well were you as a parent, or were you able to give them guidance, or were you always too busy and caught up with your own selfishness and your own ambition, that they no longer would remember you by as a person who had a memory with them. And then, of course, we can learn that eventually in life, everything truly is transient. Nothing lasts forever. And that's the one thing that I think is what I've learned in this category, is that she was single, too busy with personal life, and eventually she fell in love in the end. But because she was so caught up in her career, she lost touch of the love life and the kind of things that mattered in her lifetime. And I really think that we find attractiveness to other people because it is something that's missing in us. We try to fill this gap in our lives, and we look to other people hoping that they can fill us up or fill the void in our hearts. Eventually, as I said, no one can really fill the void in your heart unless, of course, God is in your life, and He's the one that can really put that chasm in your heart, the desire that you're longing for. And another movie is that The Intern. It is played by Anne Hathaway and Robert De Niro. And in this scenario, Robert De Niro is a retired man. He used to work at this place where Anne Hathaway is also the main character. And she used, at the building that she's currently working, Robert De Niro used to work there producing Yellow Pages, and he remembered to work at the side of the corner. Of course, they have restructured the building, and they have actually changed the design. And in the end, Robert De Niro was looking for something to do with his time. So this movie is about a man who was a widow, and he woke up one day kind of looking for a purpose, because he thought to himself, okay, I'm old, and then what am I going to do? This is it? Is this what life is all there is to it? Because he realized that life was more than just retiring. And he applied for a job that was at the Anne Hathaway's company as an intern. And so he was able to get the job. And what I like about this movie is because he really exemplified the kind of manliness, and also, again, father figure. He also portrayed this like a mentor. He ended up as a mentor to Anne Hathaway instead of him as the intern, learning from these people. I mean, it kind of got both ways, because at the same time, he was learning about technology, that he knew that he was not the kind of savvy when it comes to tech, because he was surrounded with many younger generation. However, he also taught some of the younger men in the building or at his job to become like a man. So there was a point in that scenario where Anne Hathaway said, why some of you men right now in this generation, you dress poorly. And of course, she was at the bar, probably tipsy and drunk a little bit, and they just look at each other, the younger man, of course, looking at Robert De Niro because he was dressed properly and he was always carrying handkerchief. And so he was kind of teaching younger men on how to dress properly and how to become a gentleman, because I really think that he hit the nail on the head where some of people today have really lack probably the wherewithal to take themselves seriously, and that they don't really take the time to dress themselves like a man. That we all know today, men who are in the man's body, but yet they're running around with the toddler's mentality and without a shirt on, or maybe their jeans are hanging below, and it is egregiously kind of not attractive in a way. There are just boys today that are just lack of decorum and lack of class. It has no taste. They just wear like they had no mother teaching them what's right from wrong. And so let me not get out of the tangents. And another thing that Anne Hathaway also have actually learned from this man, but he was very caring. He was very organized, because at some point he was able to help around the company of Anne Hathaway, that she was the boss, and people are just disorganized, putting all this one big pile of stuff in the middle of the room. And then Robert De Niro stepped in and he was able to fix it. And for him, even though he was retired and even though he wasn't only an intern, but he took his job seriously, and he thought to himself that I was not beneath any other job. So he took it seriously, and at the end of the day, he ended up as a personal driver for Robert De Niro, because as much as he was everybody's business and he was always keen to Anne Hathaway's business, because again, he was hired as her assistant, but he was also concerned because at one point this man that was a driver for Anne Hathaway ended up drinking at the job, and he actually called it out. So it's kind of good that some people in her life actually cared for her, and that he was looking after her welfare. And as again, she was also lacking of that kind of a father figure, because she also did not have a good relationship with her own mother. And that also is kind of funny why is it that most of the time, many women, we do not usually have a good relationship with our own mother. There's always going to be this kind of like conflict or drama, that somehow it was also portrayed in the movie, that every time Anne Hathaway would talk to her mom and she hung up the phone, and the mother would not even say I love you back. And every time she say I love you, the mother would just say thank you. Again, narcissistic mother do exist. And it also portrays that there's always this tension between mothers and daughters. Even in the movie Morning Glory, we all can see that too. There was also the kind of relationship between her and mom that wasn't good, and also in this movie. And another lesson that I've learned from this movie is that she was also looking for the father figure, and it was not too late for Robert De Niro to find purpose in his life. And he found a purpose by working at that kind of job, by also teaching other younger generation to be organized, to dress properly, and that take the job seriously, and nothing is really beneath you. And on top of this movie, I've also learned that even though she was a successful woman, she was married and had one daughter, Anne Hathaway, the intern, the man ended up cheating on her, of course. As I said, as a woman, whether you are a working mother, whether you are a successful career businesswoman, have worth of $1 billion, if a man in your life is still a prig and is still a dog who cannot stand the fact that you are a businesswoman and you really have to put your career first of all, everybody has to sacrifice, this is not really your fault. I mean, we cannot really control men. If they're gonna cheat on you, they will cheat on you, no matter how successful you are, no matter how beautiful and talented you are. Because in this movie, Anne Hathaway, of course, was always out, and she was always traveling, and she was very busy, driven with her ambition. And the husband ended up staying at home with a daughter, because somebody has to sacrifice, somebody has to give and take. As I said, it is sad that as a woman in this generation, as I always like to talk on my channel, whether you are a stay-home mom, you will be accused of you have given up on your career. Why can't you just be a successful woman and be driven like everybody else? It is somehow kind of, we don't even know which spectrum we're going to belong to. That is the kind of treatment that women, even to this day, still get a lot of questioning from unsolicited advice people. Now, if you also choose a career and be a businesswoman, people will talk to. People are going to try to make you feel sorry about yourself, or they're going to accuse you of being selfish. Because at one point of this movie, there were mothers there that a PTA meeting or some kind of event in school that Anne Hathaway, the mother, couldn't be there because she had to work and she had to go on a trip. And of course, the women the worst kind of women, who they are, the jealous type, made her feel bad for not being there. And of course, the husband has to show up for her. But then again, the husband, as I said, he ended up cheating because his probably thinking was like, she doesn't have time for me, and now it gives me justification to cheat on her, which is very lame. We all know that. So, as I said, there's a lot of lessons we can learn from the movies that we watch, that truly we cannot control other people's behavior, and it's always something to do with our childhood trauma. There's always going to be the same trauma, mother issues. It's always about the father issues. That is the common theme that I see. In the Intern movie, The Morning Glory, the same thing, mother issue, narcissistic mother who couldn't love their daughters, or are jealous of their daughters. And another thing is daddy issues, where the dad is also absent. That these two women, Anne Hathaway and Rachel McAdams, were looking for an elder person, an older man, to portray as the dad in their lives, which is kind of sad because Robert De Niro somehow, he was a perfect grandfather to that kid. And because one time Robert De Niro took the daughter of Anne Hathaway to school, portraying as the grandfather, as a father of Anne Hathaway, and she was trying to, try to talk to those women who was trying to make feel bad of Anne Hathaway, of why she had a job or have a career in the first place. And that is why sometimes in this life we cannot please everybody. If you try to please everyone in your life and you try to make everybody like or applaud you, as I always like to say, at the end of the day, it's your choice, it's your life. It's not your business what people think of you. It is not your business what people say about you and the choices you're making. People are going to be stupid enough to make stupid mistakes and stupid decisions because they're people. And at the end of the day, as long as you are a decent person, you're doing the best that you can, you're following your dreams, you're not hurting anybody, you're not stepping on other people's toes, you're not stealing, you are showing up every day with integrity, and you are motivating other people, that's all that matters. Because you cannot really allow other people's toxic behavior, whether they are your family, or your mom, or your dad, or your sisters, who could care less about what you're doing and they're not really supporting you. You cannot convince people to support you, because people are just sometimes jealous and insecure, and they are threatened by the growth that they see in you. And it's okay that people are not gonna be on your side, or who doesn't understand what you're doing, as I always like to say. And also, you have to deal with your trauma, because it will show up. And this is why sometimes we attract other people, unbeknownst to us, we attract other people that reminds us of our own parents, maybe, because we probably think that if I could just keep on doing the same thing and people are really actually not helping me, then I probably would not want to be able to cut ties with them. But we have to choose the people in our lives wisely. We have to surround ourselves with like-minded people, the people that will support us, love us, and truly be honest with us, who doesn't play a stupid mind game, who really have no motive that is hidden based on their selfish gains, and prideful people. We know that there are people in our lives are takers. They're just using you, taking advantage of you, because that's who they are, and they are demented in this lifetime, that we cannot change people. As long as you stay in your lane and you put your head down and achieve whatever it is that you want to achieve in life, you'll be good. So these are just the lessons that I have gathered or acquired from the movie that I have watched, that no, you don't have to let other people discard your ideas or your dreams in life. And another thing, why is it in every movie women are always portrayed to be always high achievers? This is exactly what I also saw in the movie. There's a lot of feminists in it, like feminism kind of messaging, that a woman must always be goal-getter, ambitious, because probably some men are not capable of supporting us. And this is why women today in this generation have to be always working, and masculine energy. We always have to function with the overly worked and overly accessible for everybody, right? Because it is something that is also portrayed in the movie, that if a woman somehow decided to do nothing and be a stay-home mom, like baking and cooking and cleaning the house and gardening, God forbid, that is not something that we want for this feminist movie, right? That's also something that I've also kind of understood. This is the reason why majority of women in our generation today are somehow is not supported the moment you say, you know what, I don't want to go to school or college, because what's the point? I'm going to be a mother anyway, and I'm going to end up taking care of my kids and my husband. And we are not preparing women to be better mothers and better wives. We're preparing them to go outside to work for other people's businesses instead of being prepared of being a wife and a mother. But yet we spend majority of our time in school about taking courses on math and philosophy and English that we eventually do not need them unless you're going to homeschool your kids. Of course, you need to know basic math and basic English, but nobody really prepares us to becoming a mother. That it takes a lot of sacrifice and work to become a full-time mom and a housewife, taking care of your kids and cooking and cleaning and doing it all over again from Mondays to Saturdays. And by the way, you never get paid for it. You're a full-time chef most of the time. You cook all the time. You figure out what to cook, breakfast, lunch, and dinner from Mondays to Sundays, by the way. And yet somehow some people do not even appreciate what you do. And also, as a mom, you're a full-time chauffeur where you drive your kids around most of the time. You pick up your kids, you drop them off to school, you drive them to soccer practice, piano lessons, whatnot. And also, at the same time, you're a full-time housekeeper. And did you know that, because I was curious of how much these people were making, if you would pay a chauffeur full-time, it will cost you around, they say it's starting from like 30,000. It can go up to 60,000. The same thing with being a chef. A chef also can make lots of money, like Gordon Ramsay, you know exactly who they are, the cook. Imagine the kind of work that a woman had to put up with, the people around us, and yet some people in our lives, they don't even understand the kind of sacrifice women has to make. And somehow there's always portrayal in the movie that you must be a career woman. That's the kind of path, right? That's the kind of, as I say, that's a feminist messaging that's been selling women for many years, that you must just have a career and you must also focus on being ambitious, and nothing's wrong with that. But somehow that is the message that we always get. No wonder why women today, they feel sorry or they feel bad when they choose to be a stay-home mom and they choose to be a full-time wife, because the movie and even people in your life, the moment you say, what would you like to become? I want to be a mom and I want to be a full-time mom and a housewife. Somehow it is portrayed as a villainized. Why would you want to do that? What's so good about being a housewife and what's so good about being a mother? Because it's actually a God-given, it's a nurturer. Women are supposed to be caretakers. That is the greatest gift and the greatest mission that God has given women in this life, is to be taking care of little kids, and so that they become an adult, to prepare them to become an adult someday and that they can be on their own. But somehow we were never going to portray in the movie to support women who have chosen to be trad wife. The kind of theme today, being a trad wife is now painted as a villain, that, oh my gosh, it's too antiquated. That idea of a trad wife, the traditional wife who wants to be a stay-home mom, a full-time housewife, is somehow some people cannot stand them. And they're being painted as, well, you pretend like you're a trad wife, but yet you're working and you're YouTubing and you have this full-time on YouTube anyway. Because sometimes, do you know why women do that? Because they're afraid that their freaking husbands somehow wake up one day and not gonna support them. You cannot just put your basket in one egg. And do you really think that women today, as much as they want to go outside in the work, who are going to take care of the kids? And these women have 3 kids and 5 kids and 6 kids, and the husband is always working, of course, because he has the only one who will bring the bacon home. And of course she has to sacrifice. But that's exactly what I said. No matter what women do today, whether they decided to be a stay-home mom, some witches and some villain are always going to say something. Or if she decided to be a career woman, and she's going to be portrayed as a selfish mother. And that's what I said. It's like, you're never going to win. No matter what you do in this life, you cannot please everyone around you. Might as well please yourself, do what's best for you and your family, because other than that, people's opinion doesn't mean anything, because they're not going to live your life. They're not the ones who are making decisions. They're not the ones who have to sacrifice. It's between you and your husband, supposedly, who makes decision and who will do the best that you can, what is going to serve you the best for you and for your children. That is what matters the most. This is why the movie, when I thought about this movie, I'm like, this is the kind of movie that somehow parallel to each other. I don't know. I didn't actually pick it. It was somehow that I was just kind of looking for something to do at nighttime, and somehow I visited this movie. So that is my rant about this movie, that yes, as a woman, we do have a choice to make decisions for ourselves, as long as it doesn't hurt people, as long as it is going to serve our family for the best of our ability. That is all that matters the most, because as I said, at the end of the day, you are not accountable to people. When you die, you're not accountable to man, but you're accountable to God, of how well were you taking care of the mission and the ministry that God has given you. Because you think that being a mom is not a ministry and being a wife is not a ministry. It is a ministry. Don't get paid for it. Our reward maybe is not going to be given in this earth, but someday in heaven, there will be a reward waiting for you. So might as well just stay in your lane, mind your business, do what's best for you, and that's all there is to it. I hope that you have learned from this message. I will see you on my next podcast. Be brave, be bold, be courageous, and have a wonderful day.